All right, guys, welcome to the Give It Podcast. Podcast for blurs, for nerds. If you have a fandom, you are most certainly welcome here. I'm your host, the most Black Spartan. Of course, the man to my left, you're right, Black Wolf. What do you have for us today, sir?
What? I've been playing too much Phantom Liberty. I am behind the black wall of the internet. It is now mine to command and make all sorts of Tron sounds whenever I use people with it. Plus, it gives me a demonic buddy from Rogue AI from the old internet, which is our internet now.
Lord. And of course, over here is with me. But together, we are the Give It Podcast. Much like the WWE old guys, we do try to watch our language, but words do fly. At the same time, maybe things that might be shown that might be too graphic for younger viewers. So viewer discretion is advised. Aside from that, welcome. So it is not an adjustment, guys. We are on a special night for Saturday night. Still to cover what we have for this week. We start off in wrestling a little bit. As much as we want to talk about the Monday Night War between AEW and WWE, a new movie is coming out about the Von Erichs. And if you're wondering, yes, it does include Zac Efron. It's called The Iron Claw. Here's the trailer.
Ever since I was a child, people said my family was cursed. Mom tried to protect us with God. Pop tried to protect us with wrestling. He said if we were the toughest, the strongest, nothing had ever hurt us. I believed him. We all did.
Morning.
Pants tomorrow, please, David.
Perry, I want you to join your brothers in the ring.
Yes, sir. I love that.
Now, we all know Kerry's my favorite, then Kev, then David, then Mike. But the rankings can always change.
What do you want in life, Kevin Von Erich?
More ribs?
I want to be with my family. You know, be with my brothers.
What do you like to do with your brothers?
Together, we can do anything.
We're here to restore justice to the Wrestling Federation that our father built with his own two hands. The hands that were passed down to us. The hands that will deliver the Iron Claw to you.
So what do you think? Like we're alive.
I love your family, Kevin.
Don't we, Uncle?
Yes, sir. Oh, man, that makes me so happy.
I talk to you about something, Mom. Dad's too tough on us. You gotta say something.
Baby, that's what your brothers are for.
Feel that? You feel that? That's pressure. You're pushing too hard.
I'm fine, kid. Seriously, I'm just sick.
I'm scared, man. It all out of control.
That's a terrible accident.
I should have stopped him. I need to think about my family.
Your job is to wrestle. Live up to that deal, or we are through.
I told you to look out for him!
I just love being out there with you guys. It's the only thing that matters to me.
The Von Erichs will forever be the greatest family in the history of wrestling.
Okay, so guys, that was the trailer for The Iron Claw. As you can see, it comes out in theaters December 22nd. For all those that are unaware of the Von Erichs, for all those that have been inside the squared circle, as far as, if not me and Joe's age, probably a little bit older, remember the Von Erichs. Probably one of the premier families of royalty in wrestling. And they also had the same tragedy. So I'm curious to see what the Iron Claw is going to cover in that movie. I definitely want to take a look at it. But Joe, your thoughts on that?
So we're just going to ignore that Zac Efron looks exactly like Prince Adam of Eternia?
No, I was going to bring that up too.
Okay, good. Actually, that honestly distracted me from the movie trailer. It's like, he looks way too much like Prince Adam.
Yeah, it's the whole. It's like I keep on wanting to say He-Man every time I saw it, but
it's the mushroom haircut and the way he's physically built up.
Yeah, I'll give you definitely that. But for a lot of people that don't know, if you really want to get a good idea of the Von Erichs, well, depending on your bias, there's a show called Beyond the Ring. that actually focuses. There's one of their segments is on the Von Erichs. Highly recommend it if you're unaware, because they do a deep dive and they hold nothing back about that family. But a good watch to as well. And again, with the Iron Claw coming out this December, I'm looking forward to it. But this kind of leads into where I'm going with this. The Monday Night War have reheated between AEW and WWE. Just like this last week, just because of the baseball playoffs coming into place, especially on the TNT side, AEW actually was on the same night as WWE's NXT, which for all those that were watching, they were both loaded shows. WWE had Undertaker, John Cena, Paul Heyman all arrived there in the matches, specifically one against Braun Breaker versus Carmelo Hayes. On the AEW side, we saw a lot of titles get defended. Some titles actually changed hands. But overall, as a wrestling fan, it is and Joe, you can chime on this too. Is it not a good time for us to celebrate the fact that we might actually have good wrestling again? Not just good wrestling, but competitive wrestling between brands?
I mean, we're still not taking Impact and NWA into account. They are the lesser two of the four, but I mean, I guess.
It's okay.
It's just one of those, like, I see this more as a war between you.
You might have froze up for a second. Try to say it one more time, Joe.
No, I'm good.
No, say it. No, you might have froze while you were saying it. Say it again.
Oh, I mean, I guess we're not taking TNA or not TNA, Impact or NWA into account, but those are the lesser two, and also to some extent extensions of AEW. But like, I don't really see it as a Monday Night War. I think the bigger war is between AEW and SmackDown.
Oh, so you didn't take Raw into comparison?
Well, there's that. I mean, also NXT just had to do like a big emergency show and push like really big stars on NXT for almost no reason. Like, I still don't understand why Undertaker came in to totally destroy Braun Breaker, which ruins his character, but whatever.
I mean, okay. So to the other point, I mean, yes, we should consider Impact. Impact Wrestling is a nice promotion, but yes, production wise, it's not on the same level as AEW or AEW or WWE. NWA was great until COVID happened, and then some logistical and broadcasting issues came up, and wrestlers got released to go join other promotions because Ricky Starks was actually on NWA Power until he actually went over to AEW, and now you see where he's getting the shine there. So I think let me also not forget New Japan, and let me not forget all the others. I don't call them smaller promotions because they're on the television wide scale. They're just not getting that same type of broadcasting. But a lot of these companies, CZW Wrestling, Dragon Gate, those types of areas, they're still good. You're not getting me wrong. I'm not trying to crap on them. I'm just saying from a standpoint of just weekly programming that we can see and view and discuss. That's what I think is great, because at first it was like, oh, well, AEW was great, but WWE was terrible. And then Triple H took over. WWE started getting more watchable again. It started comparing and started being on the same level as AEW. So that's what I'm saying. It's nice to see that competition again. But you're right. I do agree to some extent. Undertaker, when he came on NXT and kind of just demolished Breaker, I saw it as a kind of a rub situation because he did the same thing to Bray Wyatt. And Bray Wyatt, when he came back and got his push and got way over with the crowd, that's what I'm thinking in this case, that Breaker may actually get the main call up to go to either Raw or SmackDown eventually. That's what I took from it. I took from it as an acknowledgement because that's the old school way. The old school way is to demolish you on it's to demolish your character on one brand before you move on to the next one. At least that's the way it used to be. But I'm sorry, what are you gonna say, Joe?
Oh, nothing. I'm just moving my chair. I mean, I guess, but like, I just don't understand why he came in and just demolished him when he's like supposed to be like the big new monster heel, right?
I don't think that's gonna stop it. Honestly, I don't think his interaction with the Undertaker is going to stop him. I think that it's going to, I'm not gonna say reset it, but it just kind of gives that more shine to it. But it is confusing.
It's not that it stops him. It's not that it stops him. I just saw no point in it. Like, there's absolutely 0 point to it.
I can see that, but it's the level of just, to me, it's like, I would have preferred it if it was like an interference in a match, or if it was let's be honest, Taker is never going to wrestle again. That was more of a, hi, I'm here to let you know I'm still here, I'm still the man, and I'm out. So he's gonna honor himself. He's never going to give us a full-on wrestling match again. That's why I think it was more of a rub than anything else. But really, just overall, it's just, I like the idea of just wrestling being more entertaining all over again. And I'm only stressing right now because the main competition, just like the WWE and WCW of olden days, now AEW just seems to be the new thing, which is consequently enough also a TBS TNT promotion. So it's kind of funny that the spirit of Ted Turner is still with us. But I digress from that. But moving right along, guys. New York Comic Con is up and running. We thought we would get some news. We did, but unfortunately, we also did get some news from SAG-AFTRA, which kind of put a dent in our sales about what we see New York Comic Con. What I'm talking about, guys, is that, SAG-AFTRA has sat there and said that the Alliance of Motion Picture and Television Producers, also known as AMPTP, have walked away from the negotiating table, which is basically a bad sign, which we all thought, because the writers got their deal and eventually got it ratified and went back to work, which you can tell because late night talk shows have come back. The Actors Guild, however, seems to still be at an impasse. They did actually put this up here as well. Just to really quickly say this to our fellow SAG-AFTRA members, it is with profound disappointment that we report the industry CEOs have walked away from the bargaining table after refusing to counter our latest offer. We have negotiated with them in good faith, despite the fact that last week they presented an offer that was shockingly worth less than what they proposed before the strike began. So I can only imagine this kind of puts a dent what's going on in New York Comic Con right now. Even though there will be actors there, they can't talk about any works they're doing because that's struck work. At the same time, not to sit there and say, that we would like to hear more from them. Like I said, we here at Get Bit do support SAG. We're union, we're pro union, so we always support the unions no matter what. But Joe, let me ask you this: does it kind of put a dent? Because the more we see this, because SAG-AFTRA is dug in, they're like, we're gonna ride this till the wheels fall off. Do you think that because of this news, not only does it affect New York Comic Con, but it will affect almost every motion picture, like Gunn's DC Universe, the MCU as we know it, things of that nature?
Oh yeah, no, it definitely does. A brief snippet of how this affects it. My favorite thing so far is Ewan McGregor going on to a panel and not being able to discuss Star Wars. So he spent the majority of his time at the panel discussing how he just can't find a good cup of tea in the US.
Yeah. And I give him that. That was well, number one, that was freaking ingenious. That was ingenious to not only still be able to entertain people, but to really come up with something that doesn't even borderline on struck work. So I give Ewan McGregor credit for that. But yeah, to me, it's one of those things where it's just like, how are we going to be able to really look at movies and television going forward? Because you would think that the Alliance for Motion Pictures, Television and Production would have by now sat there and said, hey, we cave with the writers, let's cave with the actors, because the whole thing, which another thing I was going to point out, is the use of AI. Actors have already sat there and said, we do not want AI using our likeness, our voice, things of that nature, just for motion, just for picture studios to make movies and television, which we have seen by hand. If you've been on social media, you've seen the memes, you've seen the voice, you've seen AI take Cartman from South Park and have him singing Dirty Diana. Or that's the nicest comparison I can come up with. Or, you see Hank Hill rapping Migos, which by far was not on my bingo card of 2023. So I get that actors don't want AI use. But what's amazing and shocking out of all of it is that the movie studios are saying no to that. And that's nuts. I'm just throwing this out here, Joe. It's like, could that have been their plan all along, just to go ahead and go into Skynet phase 2 at this point?
I mean, I'm kind of two worlds of this, because we already have had actors, a very notable one, sign off and say, no, AI can use my voice, which is James Earl Jones.
Yeah.
Who's like, hey, look, I'm not going to be around. You clearly want to use Vader for a longer period of time than I'll be alive. Mm-hmm. My voice is the voice of Vader. You have my permission to have AI do my voice lines. Let me record a whole bunch of stuff. And you guys use the AI program to make Vader say what you say, just as long as my estate gets a bit of the money from it. And I'm like, no, that's good. If you have an iconic character that you don't need to put a face to,
yeah,
but still has a voice, oh yeah. No, absolutely. AI is the way to go. Like, if Mako had done this, we wouldn't have had the need for one of the Baldwins to be Mako in Legend of Korra. Or Gyro in Legend of Korra. It's, and I am playing devil's advocate because I am using good examples of what it can be used for good. But what they are wanting is, the studios are just wanting, oh, we're going to scan you, and then you're going to be in our crowds for perpetuity. Yeah. You're basically that kid in an anime convention who's got a cardboard sign that said Gundam.
Yeah.
Yeah, you are that person. I've been that person. But my point is, you're basically a seat filler at that point. You don't get paid for it. Well, let me rephrase that. You get paid once for it, and then that's it. That's not right.
I mean, you're exactly right. But that's the reason why I could sit there and say in some cases, like James Earl Jones, like you said, the man is very up in age. He's kind of retired. At the same time, he's like, yeah, and this is the case where I can see the movie studios going, one person agreed with you. Surely the rest of y'all can. Well, James Earl Jones is a man that just wants to live out the rest of his days out. He's not exactly not trying to be another motion picture. And yes, his voice is iconic. His voice is Vader. We will never argue that. But because he kind of has the foresight to sit there and say, you know what? You guys have the approval to have AI use my voice. But at the same time, if you're going to use my voice, you are going to pay my estate. Understandable. It's just that it's going to be interesting that, again, with the whole idea of movie studios not really throwing out the idea of an AI, is strange, at the same time weird. That's the one thing that they will not seem to budge from. Aside from paying more and giving dividends, but they've already given dividends to the writers. The writers are now making a certain profit off DVD buying and streams. And really quickly, here's the messed up part. Best Buy has announced at the end of the year that they will stop selling DVDs and other handheld physical devices, such as CDs and things of that nature. So if the depth of physical media doesn't scare you by the end of the next year, I don't know what to tell you. But with also that being said, though, the fact that the studios just don't seem to want to resolve the actors the same way they resolve the writers, it just makes me wonder, like, going forward, I mean, the next MCU phase is going to be on hold. DC, as we know it, is definitely going to be on hold, as much as we are trusting Gunn. And at the same time, Comic-Cons for that matter, people still show up, but they can't talk about it. And that's got to sting a little bit that you can't talk about a project that you're passionate about, a project that you're just can't wait for everybody to see and be proud and be admiring of your work and things of that nature, only for them to turn around and sit there and say, because the studios have sat there and said, nah, we don't think you're worth it. We'll take Skynet. But anything else you want to add to that, Joe?
No, I mean, the one upside of this all in, and there is an upside on my end, is as I said, San Diego Comic-Con is slowly migrating back to the comic book writers.
Yeah.
Which, yeah. Unfortunately, we did have a very big legend pass. We had Keith Giffen pass away, who, in Keith Giffen style, sent out a thing. So it was like, well, I didn't want to go to Comic-Con, New York Comic-Con, so I told him I was sick. By the way, I died on Monday.
Damn. Well,
now, for those of you who aren't aware of Keith Giffen, he co-created Rocket Raccoon, Jaime the Blue Beetle, responsible for the Bwahaha era of the Justice League.
Yep.
Workplace comedy, Justice League. He is he's also just a very curmudgeonly old man and person. I've met him before. If you think my humor was dry, he was the Sahara to my Vegas desert.
He would make you like Jim Carrey.
No, he made me look like a tumbleweed in a desert, and my humor is pretty dry.
Oh, but even Gunn in a social post also mentioned him as well. So, but yes, definitely rest in peace to the man that gave us the most driest of sarcasm, but also
anything to get out of Comic-Con is what his longtime writing partner, Jason DeMatteis, just said. He'll do anything to get out of going to a convention.
But still, you got to admit, it's pretty impressive to sit there and say, you know what? Oh, by the way, I'm no longer on this mortal coil by Monday. But anyway, move right along, guys. Which we need to talk about because, okay, first and foremost, before I go into Daredevil, let me say this really quickly. Folks, y'all have got to stop reacting like a nuclear meltdown is going to happen anytime Daredevil news gets mentioned. Because, number one, if you're like me and you peruse social media and you try to find stuff, especially for the show, background for the show, for me and Joe and others to talk in our Facebook group, please do not react like it's the end of the world whenever you see something. The reason why I am saying this is, well, because there's been a recent change at Daredevil. The head writers that were for Marvel's Daredevil Born Again have been released. When that first came out, a lot of people were like, oh crap, what is happening? We're not going to get Daredevil. Of course, the naysayers, oh, you got rid of the head writers, Daredevil's going to be trash. Or it's going to be this, it's going to be woke, it's going to have A, B, and C of whatever someone in Mama.
It's going to have She-Hulk.
Yeah.
Ooh.
It's going to have whatever person stuck in their mom's basement is going to say on the interweb because it makes them feel good. Well, because of that, which I wish, again, people would wait on news for, it was the fact that it wasn't going in the right direction for the show. When that was explained, that made a lot of sense because here's the thing. Our thing of Daredevil was from Netflix. It was gritty, it was dark, it covered a whole lot of story. So much, in fact, that now it's going over to it's over at Disney. It's how to continue it. Yes, we saw Charlie Cox and Spider-Man No Way Home. We saw the Kingpin and Hawkeye. So now it's wondering where it's all going to connect to, because in Marvel's world, everything is connected. So if they just, and it gets to the bottom part of this, they just want to make sure they produce a quality television show. Is that not all we have been asking for studios to do from Jump Street? That's all I'm saying. What were you gonna say, Joe?
Well, I mean, the big shakeup comes from the fact that Kevin Feige is looking closer at the TV division because they are now wanting a separate division for Marvel Television.
Right.
Guys, I mean, we will sing the praises of these shows, but in the grand scheme of things, very few of these shows have actually been really all that outstanding. Like, no one talks about a lot of these shows. People will still talk about WandaVision.
Yeah.
People will still talk about Hawkeye if you talk to the right people.
Yeah.
People are still going to talk about Ms. Marvel. People, depending on how you approach that subject, will still talk about She-Hulk. Not a lot of people are talking about anything else. I do not know a single person that is talking about Nick Cage, about Secret Invasion. I don't know anybody that's bringing up Falcon and Winter Soldier, but that comes because that's leading into a film. That's a bit of a story. But so what has happened is Kevin Feige let go of the writers, let go of the showrunners, is bringing in actual television writers, actual television showrunners, not movie people,
right?
Movie writers. The way this was looking to go, it was going to be something akin to, what was it called? Boston Common?
Yeah.
Where it's a legal procedure, and Daredevil, Matt was not going to suit up until episode 4. That's a problem. Now, I understand. Now, do legal trials take place in Daredevil? Yes.
Yes.
I have 10 years of Daredevil I had to look. I have the Wade run, the Charles Soule run, and I have the Zdarsky run.
Yeah.
Is he in the courtroom? Yes. Is he mostly fighting ninjas and demon ninjas and ninja demons? Those are two separate things. Please be aware of that. With his now wife Elektra? Yes. Is he running his own ninja organization full of supervillains? He used to. He used to. Now he's a preacher in the newest thing by Saladin Ahmed. Go read that. It's actually very good. But my point is Matt is never fully trapped in a courtroom, even in the comic. Like if there's a courtroom scene, it's probably 3 to maybe 6 pages in a 22-issue book, 22-page book. I mean, the rest of the time he's either Matt Murdock or he's Daredevil. But he's just not in the courtroom. So having 4 episodes of him sitting there telling us, yelling objection, that just wasn't going to fly. That was not going to make for interesting television. This is not NCIS. This is not homicide in real life.
I mean, I get your point in that, and that's the reason why. And that's the reason why to me, it's just I get the direction they want to go into, because if you try to do the courtroom stuff and then follow it up with him in a suit, you basically have the Ben Affleck Daredevil. You have the first 20 minutes of that movie if that's the idea you want to go to.
I mean, that's not bad if you wanted to just like, oh, why is this jury acting like this? Let me go be Daredevil. Oh, it's Hammerhead trying to lean on the jury to make sure he gets a favorable verdict. Yeah. Let's fight Hammerhead for the rest of this episode.
Well, don't get me wrong. That's what I'm saying, though. It's going to be interesting because, again, the reason why I still have Vincent D'Onofrio up here, because number one, outside of Michael Clark Duncan, that dude to me is the premier. Outside the late Michael Clark Duncan, that guy to me is the premier kingpin. Because Michael Clark Duncan, I mean, he was a giant. The man was a giant among men, and rest in peace to his soul. But Vincent D'Onofrio, this man. You know what? I always say that the mark of a great villain is his monologue. Like if he sits there and he tells you a story and you're drawn into it, and at the end he shows this vindictive, aggressive, almost demonic side, that to me is a villain. And we've seen him do it in Daredevil many times. Still, my personal favorite is we try to use the parable of the Good Samaritan and sat there and said, he says, I wasn't the man helping him. I was the ill repute. I was like, I like that. Now, the reason why I bring him up is because he actually spoke out about this. He sat there and said, quote unquote, every cool project I've ever been involved in, which is evolved constantly during pre-production, production, and post, it's just reported on these days as if it's big news. It's not. It's a simple bunch of creatives doing their best to get it right. It's constant in this business. I wouldn't have it any other way. Frankly, I'd be worried if we were selling for less. We're going to bring forward the best series we can. One we can be proud of. Have some trust, my friend. Trust. And I get that. Because go ahead.
So some of that reads of, yeah, we were in real trouble and we all were trying to say help. That really did read as like, oh, we were in trouble.
But that's the thing though. It's like Disney has already sat there and said that this is going to be their crown jewel. I mean, they've already said it's going to get a lot of more episodes than any other series out there. So Disney is banking hard on this. And again, Charlie Cox, the man who has trained literally in MMA, who has acted with contacts to actually make him blind. So he's not only acting it, I mean, the dude really is portraying a blind lawyer. I mean, this man's committal to the character is beyond question. So I get the fact that they just want to make sure that they're putting out a show that we can all be proud of. The reason why we wanted to save these Netflix shows, except Iron Fist, from the scrap heap, let's be honest, Iron Fist is one of my favorite stories, my favorite characters. But how they did that, really quickly, how they did that in Netflix was beyond fracked up. That's all I'm gonna say about that.
We just undo Luke Cage season 2.
Yes. I'm like, there's I mean, literally, Donnie Yen, Samuel Hung, those guys are not available to train this dude. I'm like, if you're gonna do Iron Fist, there are multiple martial artists out there that could have been pulled in to train this guy.
Oh, the martial arts wasn't the problem for me. It was him constantly monologuing his origin every single time. It's like, my dude, I don't care what you did with the dragon at this point. We're 18 episodes in.
But that was also a problem. And then he was telling everybody he was the immortal Iron Fist every episode. That part always bugged me too. But with that being said, I just
wanted Daughters of the Dragon series. That's all we need.
I would have loved Daughters of the Dragon. I would love to retool Iron Fist. I would have loved to retool Luke Cage because I did not like how it ended. But I digress. I would love to have all the Netflix series back with new seasons. But just as Daredevil is being played with the idea of producing a great series, that's the challenge, especially now because of SAG-AFTRA being put in place. Daredevil at this point is going to be on a definite hold until the studios come to their senses and actually give these actors what they gave the writers, actual understanding and rightful compensation. But again, I digress. We are going to be forever waiting for that. And let's be honest, if you wait for Final Fantasy VII, you can wait for Daredevil more again.
The only other thing we're going to be waiting for longer than Daredevil is Blade. I mean, they got to find their 8th director by this point.
I'm trying to, really quickly before we go into the next trailer, you mess up a story like Blade to where a director doesn't stay on. I'm trying to figure that out.
Wasn't the newest, and please correct me if I'm wrong, because this is all hearsay. Isn't the newest thing like this is happening in 1820 now?
1820. You're right.
Why?
I don't know. I'm not gonna lie. I don't know.
Is he meeting a version of Ghost Rider we don't know about? I think Blade, and be fair, I'm painted with bias from Wesley Snipes and the 90s Spider-Man cartoon. Yeah. I think Blade, British black man with katana on his back riding a souped up motorcycle.
Okay. I agree with you. At the same time, there is a cavalcade of source material for Blade. And you don't even have to go Wesley Snipes. I would kind of hope you kind of do an ode to him because let's be honest, Wesley Snipes is the perennial godfather of the MCU.
I'll just make him Whistler and be done with it.
I'd be okay with that too.
Mm-hmm.
I'd be okay with him being Whistler. I am fine with that. I just wish that, it's when you have all the material and you're a director. Let's just say tomorrow you wake up, you are the one that gets to direct Blade. Cool. Lifetime dream achieved. Okay, what's the story? Well, he's going to be starting out in 1820. Whoa, time out. Why are we starting in 1820? Oh, well, that's because that's where our story started. So he somehow gets bitten in the 1820s. What's next? Jack the Ripper is his dad? I'm like, as a director, I'm just like, if I'm looking at what the writers give me as a director, and I see that for Blade, I'm going to be like, you know what? Let's just call this an at least you tried moment. Go back, take 3 months, try again. This time, take these comics with you. Get inspiration. Go. But, that thing always bothers me. It's almost like with Ghost Rider. Like, don't get me wrong, Nicolas Cage, great Johnny Blaze. I mean, the first one was campy. I will say all the way campy. But for it to be one of my favorite MCU heroes, I'm like, okay, cool. At least I got a Ghost Rider movie. Spirit of Vengeance, they tried to go a little bit more toward the stories. I get it. Did it succeed? Yes, in some leaps and bounds. But I still say they didn't get it right. But at the same time, I always say there has to be a connection to the director and the writers on who actually do the stories. You don't, and my big old thing is you don't have to Hollywoodize it. You don't. Literally, and I say this with all the love and respect in the world. It is completely okay to go to the comics for inspiration or even do a movie about it. It is completely and utterly okay. I promise you, as me and Joe sit here, it is completely and utterly okay for you guys to look at the comics, literally do a story about said comics, and give us a movie that's basically about that. And you can even take some liberties. Some. I did not say all. I said some liberties, and still give us a confident story to where we can enjoy it. But again, as Joe has pointed out in his room, because he has more comics in his room than I do in my one box. But the fact that we have so much source material there that writers and directors can dive into. I'm not saying pull a James Gunn, but take his approach. That is all I'm saying. But Joe, before you get to the next trailer, do you want to add to that?
No, I mean, you pretty much covered everything. You're good.
Because I'm just like, I mean, with Blade, Ghost Rider, what's next? We're never gonna get a Nova movie. You know what? Let me not bring that into existence. Anyway, moving on to the only video game trailer we have, guys. I'm looking forward to this because if you ever want a Castlevania game, because I think at this rate we're probably not gonna get another one.
So I actually have the exact date because this was taken on one of my podcasts that has to do 2010. It has been almost 12 years since the last Castlevania.
So since Lords of Shadow 2?
I think so, yes.
Okay, because I think Lords of Shadow 2 was, Nope, that's right. I was going to say Mirror of Fate. I think it is Lords of Shadow 2, because that's one of my favorite Castlevania games. So I think Lords of Shadow 2 was the last Castlevania game. But with that being said, guys, there is 13. Another cast. I'm sorry, wait to jump.
13 years ago.
13. Damn, 13 years ago. We need another Castlevania. We need another Castlevania game, by the way. But anyway, in the meantime, there is a Castlevania-like game that's out called The Last Faith, and here's the trailer for it. And as soon as I get it right, there we go.
Your new existence, and so it is written. The path you have taken has led to this moment, this honor. Welcome home, Eric.
They are seekers of death. Merciless and cruel creatures, feeding on what consumes them in turn.
Embrace thy fate. Only retribution awaits you.
Your sins are laid there. All that you have is a gift of my benevolence.
All right. Now that's called The Last Faith. As you can see, guys, will come out on PS5 and PS4 November 15th. To me, it is a Castlevania game. It is pretty much a love letter to Castlevania, if you will. I just love the fact that it plays great, which goes to show you can do a lot with a 2D character in a 3D environment. That's all I'm saying. But I'm looking forward to it as it comes out November 15th. And hopefully we'll be able to give a review there because, that cycle of life for PS4 should be coming up anytime soon. But Joe, any thoughts on Last Faith?
I mean, I'm just now trying out Castlevania style games. Mm-hmm. Last night I bought Castlevania Advanced Collection.
Nice.
So, yeah, I mean, it's okay. I enjoy it. I enjoy it fine. I was going to say we do have Castlevania games. You just got to play them in a certain way. Like Elden Ring, you can attach a whip and just go around being a Belmont.
There used to be a list. I have to find that one day. There was a list of how to play Castlevania games in a row. And I forgot that list already. I know it exists. But
the chronological order?
Yes. There's a chronological order playing Castlevania. And that list exists somewhere, and I don't remember where. I'll look it up one day, but no.
I mean, the timeline is super weird because Trevor, Christopher, Simon, Simon's kid, Juiced, Julia, Richter, and then from there I don't know because Which, by the way, I did finish Castlevania the whatchamacallit.
Lords of Shadow or Mirror of Fate?
No, the animated series.
Oh, Nocturne. Really quickly,
yes.
What do you think?
Oh, no, I liked it. Liked it a bunch. It's kind of like... So he's an Aztec. Okay, sure.
Yeah.
I'll roll with that. That's fine.
I mean, it's not bad. That's why I wanted to ask you about because I liked it. I mean, I can't wait for season 2.
To quote Linkara, once again, our villain is ancient Egypt.
That's kind of saying a lot, ain't it? Kind of saying a lot. Kind of saying a lot.
My question is why are we not dealing with other... I mean, I understand why they're keeping Dracula out of this, because, the whole point of most of these is to resurrect Dracula, but during Trevor's thing, they made him into such a sympathetic villain to where he just wants to stay in hell with his wife, and the moment you try to resurrect him, it's like, no, go away.
It's old. You know what it is? It's old. It's grumpy old man that doesn't want to get off the porch. It's like, leave me alone. But sorry, you're the Lord of Darkness, and I prefer to stay at home. Leave me be. It's like, leave me be. But no, if you had a chance, guys, Castlevania Nocturne is on Netflix. Again, we're not going to spoil the ending because it's the end of season 2. But again, very well, very, very much worth watching.
Not video game related, but I do have a show to recommend.
Yep.
And that is the Lupin show that's on Netflix right now with Omar Sy. I
have to watch part 3. That's part 3 of again, for Lupin, like Joe said, not associated with the animated series.
Not associated with Lupin Sansei. This is a wholly original show where each season is a heist. Thank God it's a European show. So that means every episode's an hour long, but only 6 episodes a season.
Yeah.
Every season's just basically one long theft.
And again, if you have not seen Lupin on Netflix, that's another highly recommended watch.
Oh, we're going to see Omar Say in either a DC or a Marvel movie at some point. I guarantee.
I'm going to bet DC, and that is a good transition for what we're going into. So, John, I'm going to ask you, because we just found out that James Gunn's DCU will not see any of the Justice League stars reprise their roles, which means that none of the stars from the Batman vs. Superman, or Justice League, or Man of Steel, which means in this case, Ben Affleck, Henry Cavill, Gal Gadot, Ezra Miller, or Jason Momoa will reprise their roles in the new DC universe under Gunn.
So that has an asterisk. Okay. Because we do know that Jason Momoa has been cast as something in the Gunverse.
Yeah, we know. Let's just go.
So my thoughts on this before we go any further were that's a shame, that's a bummer, meh. Why not 20 Crimes Ago? And I feel bad that he was correct, but he got himself blacklisted.
You know, I was like Ray Fisher. I always felt like
he got the short end of the stick, and
he really did.
He was absolutely correct in every one of his allegations. I think the problem was he was too loud, and not that he shouldn't be, guys. Keep in mind when I'm saying this. Right. The point is, he was so loud about it that the studio execs just basically blacklisted him for everything, and they killed his career. I think he did a good job. My only issue with everything in there is I like the television Cyborg more, and it's very hard to do a Cyborg character now these days because Cyborg only really, truly has one story to tell. Once you tell it, he is stuck to being an ancillary character in the background. Now, he's better. That's why he's part of the Teen Titans the majority of his run. Is he works well as an ancillary character in a team where they can do more with him. But anything focusing on him, you got one story and you're done with him. So that sucks. Henry Cavill, that sucks.
Yeah.
Gal Gadot, that sucks. That flick, meh. I just didn't really care for it one way or the other. As with Ezra Miller, again, why not 20 Crimes Ago?
Well, and I'll say this because Ben Affleck, I still think there was an opening for him to do the Frank Grimes.
No, Frank Grimes is correct. You are correct. It is Frank Grimes.
I was gonna think. I think about it. I was
Frank Miller.
I was crossing my streams for a second. So Frank Grimes. So with Frank Grimes, the Batman series.
No, Frank Miller. It's Frank Miller.
You're killing me, man. Frank Miller. So with his Batman run, I thought that Ben Affleck would work for it. Henry Cavill, let's be honest, they jerked that man around. All he wanted was a producing credit. If they gave him a producing credit, he'd still be with DC, in my opinion. Gal Gadot, I still think she played a great Wonder Woman, even though WA84 was a little weird. Ezra Miller can go exactly to the jail cell that he should have went to from Jump Street. Jason Momoa, I'm going to give it to him because, maybe Aquaman wasn't the character he should have been. Lobo is still number one in my opinion, and allegedly, he may have gotten cast as Lobo. We cannot confirm that at this moment. That's why we're saying it's a big allegedly. Now, that also being said, guys, I'm not against the fact of Gunn wiping the slate. I think that Snyder had gotten some pretty good casting. He just didn't do well with it.
He only read 2 books.
So now Gunn has to go a different route. We do know that the casting for Superman Legacy has already been done. We know there's a Lois Lane and Superman that's already casted. And I'm not against it. At the same time, I think that he'll be a little bit more careful. I mean, we've seen Gunn's work with Guardians. So we know off the bat that he is very meticulous as well as loves putting Easter eggs. We saw that with Guardians as well as the Suicide Squad run that he had. So we'll probably see the same thing in Creature Commandos. We're probably going to see the same thing in a lot of the other shows and things that he's producing for DC. So I'm not torn up about it. Am I a little bit sad? Yes, because Henry Cavill, I thought was a great casting. Ben Affleck, I thought was a great casting. Gal Gadot, I thought was great casting. But to Gal Gadot, because they said they wanted her to. They said at the time, and again, this is allegedly, they wanted her to beef up a little bit. They wanted a more stockier Wonder Woman. And Gal Gadot, for all those who don't know, she is a very fit, very physique type woman. And again, not body shaming, because this is what she was saying that certain executives she wouldn't name have told her this. Now, again, I get the whole idea of saying, you know what, let's wipe the slate clean. I see the reason why we need to do that. And again, I'm not heartbroken over it, except like Joe said, it's Ray Fisher. I think the man really deserved a second shot, because not only did he call it Whedon, which, by the way, you have not heard hide nor hair of that man since DC Camden. But at the same time, guys, you know, I still say he deserves a fair shot. I just can't get away from that. But anything else you want to add to that, Joe?
So if I was not a betting man, but if I could make things happen, I would hold on to the big three.
Yeah.
And then lead it to them being recast as their Earth 3 selves.
Yeah.
And having the Justice League fighting the Crime Syndicate, and letting Cavill be Ultraman, letting Ben Affleck be Owlman, and letting Wonder Woman be Superwoman.
I can see that. That would be interesting.
I mean, it's closer in line to Snyder's vision.
True. Well, Snyder's vision actually. Well, no. Let me shut up. But anyway, yeah, that sounds like a great idea, Joe. That sounds. I would be completely okay with that. That sounds like a wonderful idea.
I mean, if they want to recast Ezra Miller, he's already on the road to being Johnny Quick.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong. But moving right along, guys, Joe, and I want to ask your opinion about this. Crunchyroll has decided that they are going to be launching a 24-hour anime channel. This is going to be on certain channels available on the LG channels, the Roku channel, Vizio Watch Free Plus. The service that Crunchyroll is offering will also be on Amazon's Freebie on October 17th. Now, the anime that they already show will be dubbed in English. This does include Horimiya, Ranking of Kings, Moriar the Perennial, Psychopaths, Apueta, Sugar Apple Fairy Tale, To Your Entity, and Code Geass. That's to name a few. They have not said fully which anime is going to be shown on this free station. But Joe, just your thoughts on this and the fact of who they already named. Do you think that this is a great idea, or do you think that more titles need to be added?
I mean, more titles need to be added, but I mean, it's Crunchyroll, so they can cycle through quite a bit. Ranking of Kings is probably the best thing on there. Psychopaths is just Cowboy Bebop, but what if you were cops?
Pretty much.
Code Geass is supposedly a really good mech anime, but I hate clamp animated styles. I think if they sneeze, the characters are supposed to snap completely in two at the waist.
Yeah.
I mean, I really just don't like clamp style art.
Right, but I agree with you.
Fairy Tale is just One Piece, but on land.
But actually, sure,
well, I mean,
Fairy Tale.
I mean, you know, Fairy Tale is Fairy Tale. I'm not going to say it's bad. It's just, to me, it's One Piece on land. I mean, it's a very typical battle shonen. I mean, battle shonens are 1 in a million. So, you know, it is what it is. I mean, it looks fine. I mean, I'm not like expecting them to like, all right, here's a sports block. So you get what's on right now? Ghost MTG, which is the new Japanese downhill street racing anime.
Yeah.
Something involving Formula 4 racing cars, Hajime no Ippo, and something else.
Yeah,
so,
but
sure,
but for all those that don't know, really quickly, Hajime no Ippo is addictive. I cannot tell you. Look. First off, it's a boxing anime. Now, you probably wonder how boxing animes are done. That to me, outside of another one I can't name right now because the name escapes me.
Megalobox?
Megalobox is good too, but that's not. There's another one.
Bushido no Joe.
No, it'll come to me. It'll come to me.
1 Pound Gospel.
No, that's not it.
I've named all the boxing animes there are.
There's one I have to look it up.
I swear to God, if you're just talking about Afro Loopy versus the Foxy Pirates boxing arc.
Afro. Entertaining, but no, not talking about that. But no, for all those really quickly, it is it's a boxing anime. It is an older one, but it is so good. And again, if you're one of those ones that like sports animes, that's gonna be up your alley.
So incidentally, tying into this, for those of you I don't know, you're aware of Totally Not Mark on YouTube, right?
Yeah.
His next manga review is Ippo.
Nice. Which I had to catch up on because I did not realize there was a Dempsey roll version too. I was like, oh, he perfected it. I have to hurry up and reread that. But anyway, looking forward to that. Looking forward to that Crunchyroll channel to see what they're going. I hope it's a start because anime for the longest time used to be stuff that Toonami and then whatever you can find on TV at 2 or 3 a.m. in the morning. So now
at 2 or 3 in the morning, you only had one thing, which was the ending theme to Inuyasha with the Ferris wheel.
Pretty much. So, I mean, I am looking forward to it. I'm not against it. I am for more anime to be shown. But speaking of things to be very happy about, especially if you're a Whovian, that means you're a Doctor Who fan. If you have access to the iBBC player, and because of Doctor Who is celebrating its 60-year anniversary, they're going to bring back over 800 episodes of Doctor Who. This also includes the Sarah Jane Adventures, which is also good. Torchwood, my favorite in class, also was okay. But imagine getting to see Doctor Who from the 60s, 70s, 80s up until currently. So you actually get to see the first Doctor all the way up to the current one, currently on the BBC iPlayer right now. Now, of course, you can go pay for it and you can subscribe to it. That's what we're recommending for you to do. We're not saying the other means of how you can watch it. That's on you. But I do love Doctor Who. I got actually introduced to Doctor Who around the 9th Doctor. I forgot his name already. Because he kind of had a short run as he had a short run.
Christopher Eccleston.
Thank you. He had a short run as the 9th Doctor, but that's how I got introduced to Doctor Who. And then from 10th, 11th, and 12th, and 13th, love David Tennant, love Matt Smith. I forgot the 13th.
Peter Capaldi.
I love Peter Capaldi as well. Even loved the 14th, which was no,
not her fault.
It was Jodie Foster.
Whittaker.
Thank you. Wasn't her fault. Now let me stress that out because I really chalked that up to bad writing and show direction. But I love her as the Doctor as well. Even though Tennant has now came back again for round 2 of Doctor Who. But for the simple fact of the matter, guys, if you're not introduced to Doctor Who, watch one episode. You'll know after one episode whether or not you're hooked or it's not your thing. But again, to me, that's one of the better. That is probably, if not the arguably best BBC produced show out there. Because through BBC, I got introduced to Idris Elba and his crime drama. But with Doctor Who and Torchwood, those are my go-tos because Captain Jack killed me in Torchwood. But again, and also Sarah Jane Adventures again is where I got introduced to the other side. So it is a rabbit hole. I'm not gonna lie, it is a rabbit hole, but it's a good rabbit hole to get into. But Joe, any thoughts on Doctor Who? And if you had to recommend somewhere where to start, where would they start?
The 4th Doctor.
Okay, I can see that.
The Tom Baker era. I mean, that just has too much good in it.
Yeah, you're right. Because I had to explain to somebody about Neil Patrick Harris' character. I was like, he's the Master. Who's the Master?
No, he's somebody else.
He's not the Master?
No, he's a different Time Lord.
They're introducing a. Oh wow, I missed that bus. So he's not playing the Master, but he's a different Gallifreyan.
Yeah, he's a different Gallifreyan. He's a different Time Lord.
Holy crap! I missed the bus on that. Okay, that's my bad. I'm sorry, guys. I had to go back and go watch because I thought he was the Master. I'm like, he would have done an excellent role as the Master. But again, Gives me a whole new reason to go on the BBC iPlayer and watch Doctor Who. But again, moving right along, guys, before we get into our comic pulls of the week, we do gotta talk about Loki. And of course, with Loki, we are gonna. I mean, there's no way to talk about it except to go into details of it, just because if you've never seen Loki, number one, it's kind of hard not to give you descriptions without not ruining the show. But at the same time, guys, the only way we can talk about it is to talk about it. So episode 1, episode 2 are out right now on Disney Plus. If you have not seen Loki, or you do not want to know what happens on episode 2, much less episode 1, probably about the next 9 minutes or so, you might want to mute us or come back to us when we go over comic books. But you've been warned. So Joe, after episodes 1 and 2, just for a quick recap, Loki finds himself in a TVA he does not recognize. This is after Sylvie kicks him through a time door and Sylvie murders He Who Remains, which then scatters the timeline in multiple branches. Getting back to a TVA he doesn't know, he is phasing in and out of time, which because of his detachment becomes very weird, but also opens up for some great dialogue between him, Agent Morbius, and Obi, who was played by Ki-Hai Kwan, which again, scene stealing in my opinion. At the end of the first episode, Morbius really does sacrifice himself to fix Loki, to which they do survive, and he's now restructured in the timeline. B5 is having the most once a believer, now rejection life ever. Renslayer is somewhere hiding in the timeline. Miss Minutes is nowhere to be found. And at the same time, as we go into episode 2, Loki is trying to explain everything that happened while looking for Sylvie, which, by the way, at the end of the first episode, Sylvie went to McDonald's. Now, I'm not sure if Disney and McDonald's had a agreement, but it wasn't the new McDonald's. It wasn't the I'm loving it McDonald's. This was straight 70s McDonald's. I'm talking throw up brown color and yellow colors and happy customer service and not a sign of electronic devices. That McDonald's. Now, of course, Loki and Morbius basically have to track down one of the hunters to tell them exactly where Sylvia is, which we find out she's happy and content serving fast food. They turn around and tell her that they need to fix the timeline because if they don't, everything will cease. Now, what we don't know on the other side is that the hunter that was working with one of the former judges have decided the only way to fix the timeline is to, prune the branches, meaning that they would set off explosions in each timeline. Now, Morbius, B5, and Loki and Sylvie all try to stop it, which they do to some extent. However, there are some timelines that were pruned, but they did find out where Renslayer may be hiding within the timeline. At the same time, they may have convinced Sylvia to join them in actually stopping what looks to be a dangerous thing, because Obi was actually trying to fix the timeline, but notices something, but is rudely interrupted before he can actually say what it is. So that is a synopsis of episode 1 and 2. Joe, what did you think of Loki so far? And just if I missed something, feel free to add it in.
So episode 1 is just all about Ki-Hai Kwan. Let's just be real.
Yeah.
That is the only purpose of episode 1. Episode 2 is all about why Tom Hiddleston needs to be James Bond and key lime pie.
That part. The world's ending. Let's have pie. It's like, I thought it was a little more of a supernatural reference. You need pie.
Like, where are we? It's like, I don't know. Let's have some pie. And it's just basically the TVA's pie room.
Pretty much.
But no, like the opening of it, in all seriousness, the opening of it really demonstrates why I truly believe Tom Hiddleston should be the next 007.
He is. Well, is he British? Isn't there like an uncommon rule that for you to be Bond? Well, no, that's not true because Daniel Craig's not British. He's Scottish. So I guess that's okay. Never mind. I'm in my own head.
And Phantom Liberty is just what if Idris Elba is 007?
Yeah, what if Idris Elba's a Spectre? I've seen some scenes. That's more Spectre than 007.
Well, that depends on what route you take midway through the game.
That's also fair. But go ahead.
No. So episode 2, just more stuff. Yeah. So apparently that McDonald's was actually an Indian restaurant that they allowed them to clear out and convert into a 1980s 2 McDonald's.
Oh, I was wondering how they pulled that off.
Yep. So there's that. I dig that they got all the old stuff in the background, and they missed one key thing.
What's that?
There were no ashtrays in those McDonald's.
That's a fair point.
No, I joke, but that actually is a pivotal thing for if you're in the early 80s, like Sylvia's.
Yeah.
It specifically says Oklahoma 1982. Every place had an ashtray.
Yeah.
And every McDonald's had a playground because no one cared about lawsuit or injury if your child fell off of something. If your child fell off of something, it's like, well, my kid's an idiot. Let's go to the hospital.
Pretty much. And they didn't give two. And then I think about it, because the metal was actually metal.
Metal. Your playground land was wood chips.
Yeah.
If you went into a Mayor McCheese jail in the middle of summer, you're just gonna die and burn.
You were basically sitting on a hot plate. At that moment. But
I mean, according to McDonald's and Jason Alexander, the hot side is hot and the cold side is cold.
But
so no, it was a good episode overall. We do see quite a bit. I'm still waiting for them to get in contact with this version of Kang. I want to see what that's got in store for it, because he is still Kang. Jonathan Majors is still Kang.
At this point, he's safe. He's
the
safe.
one thing that keeps going on Facebook that I continuously see is people's like, this has been confirmed. It's like, no, it hasn't. It's like, this is happening in Secret Wars. Script's not even written yet, and that movie's 4 to 5 years off. No, it's not.
Exactly. But that's the thing about it. I agree with you. I'm looking forward to seeing Victor Timely. They teased it. They teased it beforehand. So it's like, yeah, we want to see Victor Timely, and the fact that Loki and Morbius tracked him down. Now, again, Mobius. I keep saying Morpheus. I am all tongue twisted today. So with Morbius actually being there, and again, we're gonna meet the variants. This is why it's going to look, and I hope Loki doesn't get overloaded with variants, because what made Loki great was the fact that it was so abstract, but yet still brought so many Easter eggs from his own comic book run.
And on top of that, he's not even the main Loki. This is a variant Loki.
Yeah, which is gonna be interesting. Because again, it's like the whole thing about variants, the timekeepers, the fact that they stole people from other timelines, wiped their memories, and again, the whole thing with Renslayer, like the whole part of her running, and what timeline did she go into? So it is going to be interesting to see exactly where they're happening, especially also the big thing with Miss Minutes and He Who Remains, where looked like they were working together, and that's gonna be a question, because Miss Minutes has not. 2 episodes in, no one has seen or heard from Miss Minutes except for that recording. So that's going to be interesting in itself.
Well, Ravonna does tend to be Kang's Achilles heel, so
I get it. So it's going to be interesting. That's why I was like, the whole thing about Miss Minutes, I have a theory, but I'm going to wait on that until I can actually be able to come up with a little more than just, I think, the gut feeling, really. But I was for some people who were worried about the second season. I don't know why. This is great. It leads up to this whole question. Like, Loki is basically one big what if, but it's a great what if. So I'm not against it. Again, let us know in the comments what you guys thought about it. What you guys thought about Loki, especially up till now, and let us know what thoughts you have on it. Because, like I said, guys, this is what's gonna have to sustain us for a while. Because again, actors aren't working. At the same time, you do have writers, but no actors, which means no movies, no television series. Again, enjoy it while it lasts. But we're going to go ahead and go into our comic polls, Joe. So I see that you're ready to go, sir. So, I've already seen the first one. We're ready.
Okay, so we're digging back into Spider-Man against our better judgment. Spider-Man issue. No, this was actually fine.
Yeah.
This is Spider-Man issue 35. John Romita Jr. and Patrick Gleason have officially switched roles, I think. Thank God. This book actually looks decent now. So this is written by Zeb Wells and art by Patrick Gleason with colors by Marco Menez and Eric Arsenigia. I apologize on that one. So this is the finale of the Spider-Goblin arc. So Peter catches up to Mary Jane and Paul, has to fight the Goblin Queen, nearly kills Paul, Mary Jane goes to fight him, and Peter just flat out calls out Mary. He's like, I don't care what stupid powers he's rigged for you. You know you can't take me. And then we get the Craven clone, and then other things happen, and Peter is miraculously cured. But of course, it's Peter, so now he feels guilty about everything he's possibly could have done, except maybe for Paul. Also, Norman maybe slowly drifting back, but that's about it.
But that's the thing, though. I like Goblin Peter. Goblin Peter was the exact reason why we kept saying this entire time, you never want Peter to go dark side. If Peter goes dark side, my God, who is going to be able to stop him? I'm like, this was just him being infused with a Green Goblin with Norman's sins, which basically injected the Green Goblin into Peter. But understand, this is the kind of Peter that has full access to all of his powers. So someone with enhanced strength, agility, spider sense, and now has no qualms about killing people. That is a menace. But I love the fact that, you know what, he went straight to Mary Jane's husband, was like, yeah, I don't like you. Well, you're not gonna get rid of me unless you kill me. Okay. I was like, the level of just, all right, you asked for it. But no, I do like the whole thing of Craven. Craven kind of feels like, you know, Spider-Man, you kind of redeemed me because I heard my father, I heard the same voice that called my father trying to end my life, and I chose differently. So those things I definitely do get. But at the same time, I'm just like, is it bad that I wanted it to last a little bit longer? Is it bad? I want to see what Goblin Peter would do. Is it that bad? Because if it is, I accept it. But
no, not really. I mean, I would like it. We've seen Peter go dark side. I mean, that's the scariest time is when Spider-Man doesn't talk, and we've seen how strong he is because, like, he just folds Kingpin in jail in front of everybody in one issue.
I mean, yeah, but that was okay. Now, in that case, that's justified. When, you know, you try to take out his Aunt May, and now he has to send a message and literally goes to prison, takes his mask off, beats the ever-loving crap out of you, and then tells you, once Aunt May dies, you die. Damn. Again, I kind of like Dark Peter a little bit. I'm not gonna lie. But,
I do too.
But no, with Craven actually using the spear, and of course, I do love the tease of Norman just sitting there and going, you know what, I have my sins have never left me. And you know, that little smile appeared, and I was like, I need the Green Goblin cackle. I need that Green Goblin cackle in the mirror just to submit that scene. But you know, I could be mad about it. You couldn't have Dark Peter for a very long time. So again, I thought it was a great issue. I just wish we could have saw more of Dark Peter. But I got
really the other thing that helped this issue is Patrick Gleason is returned to doing the book.
Yeah,
that was one of the bigger improvements because I still can't stand John Romita Jr. I just can't. And this is sad because I'm a huge fan of the Clone Saga. Old school 90s John Romita Jr. is fantastic. Whatever he's doing now, I mean, you know, aside from that he's taking time away because his dad died.
Yeah.
Rightfully so. But whatever he was doing prior to that does not work, and this book looked ugly as crap. Now, again, thank God Patrick Gleason's back. I don't know for how long. If it's the rest of the book, maybe I'll consider resubbing to it. But
you're just gonna hold out hope until otherwise justified. I get it. I do get it, but no, I like this issue. I just wish, like I said, I wanted more Dark Peter.
Speaking of Dark Peter, let's look at the Spirit of Spider-Man Returns. So this is a one-shot that is going to lead into its own series. This is written by Dan Slott with script assistance by Christo Gage, penciling by Mark Bagley, Ryan Stegman, Humberto Ramos, Giuseppe Camuncoli, inking by John Dell, JP Mayer, and Victor Olazaba, and colors by Edgar Delgado. That's a lot. That is a lot.
Yeah.
That's a lot. So the whole thing about this is if you do not remember, Spirit of Spider-Man, and I will say this truthfully, and most people will agree with me, Spirit of Spider-Man was the last great Spider-Man story told in the last 20 years. This is including me being a giant biased Ben Reilly person. I will call a spade a spade. All the big Spider-Man Beyond stuff, Dark Web, for love it or hate it, Clone Conspiracy, all complete and utter garbage compared to the Spirit of Spider-Man storyline.
Yeah.
I will say that. I will say that under oath. Spirit of Spider-Man is when Otto Octavius takes over Peter's body and vacates Peter's own personality from his own mind, only for Peter to eventually fight back. However, Otto gets a new body when his original body dies during the Clone Conspiracy and gets a whole new super Peter-looking body, but not in the face, thank God. We've had enough of that. We have 3 other people that look like Peter. We don't need a 4th.
Fair.
And it goes out to California.
Yeah.
San Diego? Somewhere. Somewhere. And goes to be Spider-Man, his version of Spider-Man. And then they ruin the book by him making a deal with Mephisto because he believed that in the Spider-Man body, he could not handle it. But somehow in his older, fatter body, just with 4 extra arms, he'd be able to deal with the menace. So he makes a deal with Mephisto because you're a Spider-Man person, have no other choice, and gets his old body back. Well, now Otto's regretting that because he is starting to realize that he was actually smarter in the Peter body by combining his own intellect with Peter's outstanding scientific intellect, and problems that were no problem for Otto Peter are now starting to bother and elude Otto. So Otto's now in big hood's like, all right, I got to find my way back to being Spider-Man.
Mm-hmm.
So this whole one shot is just pretty much this. And then it'll lead into its own series. But we get to see sneak peeks of Untold Tales of Superior Spider-Man, the creation of a wholly new villain who we swear to God is not Electro.
But might as well be. I mean, he called it Supernova. It's like, yeah, okay, it's not Electro, but you're kind of on the nose. So you try to. The power side may not be the same. I mean, one is basically a walking sun, one is pure energy. Okay, I guess we're gonna go with that.
So I dig this. I think Dan Slott has a good voice for this particular character. I still think it was completely and utterly stupid to cancel the book the first time just to resurrect it later for no good reason. But this is the world we live in. I can't tell you how many times Silk has had a revival book, and Gwen's getting ready to have another book. But like, this just needs to be a mainstay.
But at the same time, though, you got to love the whole fact of here's how I did business 101 by bringing on a college intern and training her into a henchman, only for her to realize he's going to take my idea. You just explained business 101.
Pretty much.
But no, it was a good. I like the issue just because I'm like, this is leading into a supervillain, and I'm like, imagine going back to said place where you thought you locked her up and tried to use her power, and then you basically let her out, and she's not even mad at you. That's the funny part. She's not mad at you. She's mad at the former you. So now poor Peter is just not having the grandest of days at the moment.
I mean, that's the standard Parker.
Yeah. You would think so, but it's like, man, we say, well, wasn't for bad luck, you wouldn't have luck at all. But no, I did dig the viewers. I dig this one shot as well. I was pretty good.
Also, guys, keep in mind that this does retail for $6.99 as opposed to $4.99. So be that as you will when you go to buy it. Next up, X-Men Red. This is written by, where is everybody? Al Ewing with art by Yuderi Sinar and colors by Federico Blees. Pretty much just the War of Krakoa is stepping up, and now the Children of Apocalypse have come. Which Storm pretty much solos, with the exception of Death and Pestilence, and Death takes out Pestilence because Pestilence decided to get in Death's fight.
That was interesting. I thought it was like, so Death kind of slick respected Storm a little bit. He really
they always respected each other from Ten of Swords because they did nothing but flirt with each other.
Yeah.
In Ten of Swords. Like those two, when Apocalypse and his kids were on good terms with the rest of Krakoa.
Yeah.
Death and Storm did nothing but flirt during Ten of Swords. So they have a begrudging respect against each other because Storm understands Death better than most people, and Death sees only but pure, utter elegance in Storm.
True. Oh, you can tell the way they're talking to each other. But the whole time Storm and I forgot the other person that were fighting, I was like, yeah, this thing ain't end well. It's like, I have flame and I have the elements. And
War. Yeah, when she took out War.
Yeah, that's the name I was looking for, War. When she took her out, it was like, yeah, you do realize, Voice of Soul, Omega level powers. You need oxygen for your fire. Yeah, somebody didn't think this battle all the way through. That's all I'm saying.
And then she takes on Famine and just like destroys Famine almost outright.
Almost in a disrespectful way, actually.
Unfortunately for me, Nova gets taken out in this. We don't know if it's permanent or not. He got hit with the pestilence arrow, so Lord only knows what that thing. I think Death says he can save him, but that's because he's the only one that can remove it.
Pretty much.
Again, good issue. I did like the backup story, which was basically Sunspot and Shark Girl. If you do not get the joke that this is an inverse of Shark Boy and Lava Girl, I can't help you. I mean, that's pretty much just what this was. This was just like
it really was.
Swap Shark Boy and Lava Girl.
It really was. I will agree with that.
Again, good book. X-Men continues to amaze and have a lot of fun. I am going to be sad when a lot of this ends.
Yeah. But all good things, especially the fall of X, is going to be pretty much the end of Krakoa as we know it. But it was nice.
We say that, but we're already getting the summer previews for Rise of Power of 10.
That's true. I don't know. We did start off saying Krakoa wasn't going to be 86, but you know what? It's probably going to have to be a wait and see moment on that.
Next up, we got Dark Droids number 3. Do you want to see meme droids with human body parts and graphic horror? This book's for you.
I was going to sit there and say, how not to fight Darth Vader. How not to fight Darth Vader, and then don't take any notes. That's about the best way I can put
that was pretty much it. Like, they get Vader at his weakest, to be fair. Like, they just drag him straight out the tube, so he has no prosthetics, no suit, just his respirator, and the man just channels force limbs. Meanwhile, you get to see, honest to God, some very terrifying things. You get to see an R2-D2 unit with amputated arms and legs attached to it.
Yes.
And one droid just having a human skull is like, I am the closest to the human hybrid. And they're like, we got Vader.
And that was the Scourge's goal. It's like, you know what? I have to take him over. If I take over Vader, I would have connection to the Force. As you're literally this little droid is starting to come up to his face. And again, this is a man that has mastered Force powers. You're not going to simply inject yourself into Vader, which I thought was interesting. It's like, well, first test unsuccessful, but I know how to do it now because you invaded 3 other cybernetics. But again, I don't think they'll be able to get Vader. I don't think Scourge will be able to get Vader.
I don't, but at the same time, if they do, it's going to be one of those, oh, this is going to make Vader even madder.
Yeah. So now, or worse, Vader now has cybernetic abilities to where he can basically take Scourge's powers and infiltrate. And at the same time, you are still having the Force. Damn. That is something I need to fight.
I think my only issue now with Dark Droids as a whole is it is in too many books, and some of these books are completely inconsequential to the story. Like, to me, I feel like this should only be in Star Wars, Dark Droids, and Vader. I don't need to see any more in Dr. Aphra. I don't care about Star Wars Mercenaries. I don't care about whatever the 4th book is at the moment. But I feel like you only really need to be 3 titles wide, not the whole line, because it's just, like I said, it's becoming inconsequential what's going on for the main thing.
Fair. I can see that.
And really, like, the Vader book has been the most in continuity to this storyline. Like, the biggest thing Star Wars is having to go on is, Lobot's infected.
Yeah.
I mean, D Squad is kind of a thing because it's unaffected droids, and they have Chopper, BT-1, and 000 all on the same squad. So that's just enough to conquer an entire planet, probably a quadrant, in those 3 droids alone. So,
you got a fair point, which, again, the fact that this is going to be a long series, that's what I'm kind of saying, okay, you got C3, you already infiltrated C3PO. I'm waiting to see about 2 other famous droids, see if he does get to them, but the fact that he is so gung-ho on Vader right now makes me wonder if we're going to see another attempt.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it, but I just want them to condense the storyline now.
Fair enough.
All right, moving on over to the indies. Still in the indies. Ranger Academy finally debuted. This is written by Maria Ingardre Mora with art by Joe Ming-Yong and colors by Fabian Malasco. So the storyline of this is set in probably the SPD era, where students have crash landed on a planet, find a little girl on the planet, and the little girl sneaks back to Ranger Academy. Power Rangers SPD Academy to Ranger Academy. So that's pretty much just the storyline. Now, some of the continuity-wise stuff, I love that they made Terra Venture into basically Power Rangers Hogwarts.
Yeah.
And that Leo is one of our Red Ranger teachers, and then there are different learning tracks depending on what power coin color you were given.
Yeah.
But to me, like I said, the first thing that said, I was like, you turned Terra Venture into Hogwarts.
I can see that, though. But again, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, not a bad book, mind you. This is very uncharted territory for a lot of Power Ranger fans, myself included. Mm-hmm. But with Boom Studio, I trust what they're doing with the Ranger continuity, so I have high hopes for this.
Yeah, at the same time, like you said, it's a different direction, but I like that. I'm like, okay, I'm intrigued to read more about this, especially the fact of with the father. Again, the father is tied somewhere to that. But again, I liked it though. It was a good read.
The father's either a retired, disillusioned ranger from somewhere, or a villain that just didn't pan out. Like he's a henchman, just didn't pan out.
I'm gonna go with retired ranger that just doesn't want to do it anymore. He's got
retired SPD Rangers is like, I got the pension. It wasn't worth it.
Yeah, that's what it kind of reminds me of. It kind of reminds me of I'm too old for this shit kind of thing. But still, I'll be curious to see what he's revealed to be.
All right, Green Lantern number 4. This is written by Jeremy Adams with art and cover art by Zaramenko and colors by Romulo Ferrado Jr. Okay, what's saving this issue for me is the fact that Barry Allen's in it. I'm not going to lie to you. Sinestro corners Hal, wants his ring. Hal's ring is unique to Hal because, of course, it is. It's Hal Jordan. And then Barry Allen just kind of along and just kind of like points out a lot of BS that Hal's been pulling off on some people who tell us, like, so you and Carol together? No. I'm trying to get back with her. Is there somebody else that she's with? Yeah, but I can solve that problem. That's not the right way to do these things.
Right. I was like, that's not how you want to solve the problem, sir.
And like points out, it's like, oh, by the way, Iris and I are engaged. Oh, congratulations. That's awesome. So, what's going on with you? Because we can't get in contact with any other Green Lanterns. But everybody seems to be on Earth. We just can't find them. How, of course, like, well, I mean, I'm living with Kilowog in a trailer, but that's about as much as I know.
Yeah.
Really, the standout point on this one was the fact that it's Barry Allen just pointing out how Jordan BS and then just having a good time together. I've always, if there's any one thing I can appreciate about Hal Jordan, it's when you team up Hal and Barry, because they are just fun to be around.
Oh, yeah, it's actually a great story. That's actually.
And then the backup story, I'm only going to mention because this may or may not introduce the illegitimate son of Sinestro. Meaning Saronic's got a little half brother somewhere on Kogar.
Yeah, that would have to suggest that. But I guess we'll have to seek out things. But I can see that.
No, not too bad. I have no idea what Sinestro's got planned for Hal in the future. I'm only really kind of glancing at this book, but the Barry Allen stuff kept me really entertained.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, well, then again, anytime, I mean, we've seen that with Barry Allen and Nightwing. So if anything goes to show you, it will always be interesting.
The Flash just makes everything better.
Yeah.
And then Book of the Week, Sandman. This is written by Robert Venditti with art by Riley Rinso and colors by Ivan Pasquinelli. So this is a period piece. We are back in the 1930s, 1940s. This is part of the Golden Age miniseries called the Look at the Golden Age. So this is classic Wesley Dodds. So this is still counts as continuity for Sandman Mystery Theater. All this takes place after Sandman Mystery Theater.
Yeah.
So go read that. That is good. This is just a good old crime book from Wesley Dodds, who may or may not be using a very early version of fear gas. Which I find very odd because usually it's just a gas gun they like use to sneak up on people in the older books, kind of like a la Darkwing Duck.
Yeah.
But in this one, I legitimately think he's using a very early version of fear gas.
Yeah. He even says so.
Oh, okay. Which is weird because Scarecrow's not around to make that gas from.
Right. But no, in that case, that's the thing about it. He did sit there and say that he couldn't get the timed effect right of inducing fear into them. So I'm like, oh, so it is fear toxin. Well, pre-stage fear toxin, but yeah.
So of course, because this is this is early era, that means clearly he is an affluent, rich white dude seeing a hot girl. Thankfully, the one good thing I love about Sandman is Diane is in on it. He does not lead a double life with his partner. Yeah. And also, Diane is not the girlfriend. She is legit Sandman's partner in every way, shape, or form. They are a couple, but they are not like, woe is me, damsel in distress, Lois Lane. Diane will get in there and get down and dirty if she needs to and help Wesley in investigation. That is something I've always loved in the early books. And what I love in now is that They are equals. This is not that. That is the most important thing.
Yeah, it's not that weird. It's not that weird placement type of thing. But that's what you're saying.
Yeah, that is one of the best things about it. Even in Starman, when we have stars and dreams, Diane's there and she's still every bit the equal to Wesley, even in their mid-80s.
That is true.
So this looks into him going into a series of murders, and just a good old detective story is really all this is.
Yeah. Even though it's kind of a whodunit and who knows his true identity as Sandman. So it's gonna be interesting on that. That one actually did draw me in because I was like, I haven't read too much of the Sandman. That's why I was like, let me actually give this a shot because I do love the artwork. It is very, very Noirish. I guess it's the word. Very Noir. Love the way it's actually. It kind of reminds me of those old detective books where it's like, you know, it has that type of feel, that type of grit to it. So yeah, I'm willing to give this a shot. This is a very good first issue for the Sandman.
I think this is only going to be a 6-issue miniseries because I know we're getting this. We're getting Golden Age Flash now with his daughter, and we're getting Golden Age Green Lantern. Alan Scott and his book's going to be looking at the government trying to find certain pictures being taken of soldiers at inopportune moments, mostly the gay soldiers. To try and search out those that are of homosexuality in the early days of the military, where that's, you know, very frowned upon. Unfortunately, it still is. I don't understand why. Makes no sense to me. If you love somebody, you love them.
Yeah.
I don't think that's going to affect your time in a foxhole with them.
Well, you know, when you're in a foxhole, you're not really considering other things except staying alive. But that's a whole other conversation.
I don't think anyone's going to say, I can't throw that grenade. I just did my nails.
That part.
Like, that's never going to be a case. So, you know, that's what the Green Lantern book is looking at. The Flash book is going to be looking at the readjustment of Jay and Joe Allen getting used to being parents to their daughter Judy, which was time displaced. And then Sandman, I think, is just going to be one giant murder mystery, and I'm there for it.
Yeah, it's that good.
So, yep, that is everything for the week. Most definitely Sandman. Go check it out. Please go check it out. I cosplay as this character. That's how much I love this character. I don't do it often because gas masks in public spaces are very much frowned upon these days. So I'm very careful where I do this.
And might trigger some individuals, but that too.
Which is why I try not to do it anymore. But, you know, it's one of those, if I can get away with it at a photo shoot around people that understand who I am or what I'm doing, I'll do it.
Right.
But it's very few and far between that I get to bring out Mr. Dodds at anytime soon.
Understood. Well, thank you, Joe, for the comic book pulls of the week, sir. As always, we do always want to show our support. Again, voted Nashville's #1 place for comic books. I want to say it's 3 years. Is it 3 years in a row or 2 years in a row? Or do you remember? Because they just won it. I want to say they just won that again, so I'm not really sure how many times.
I'm going to say 3 because I honestly can't think of another comic store. I mean, I know we got Starbase, but I think they're closing. So now it's between Rick's and The Great Escape, and The Great Escape is more of a record store to me.
Pretty much. Well, anyway, let's say it this way. Voted Nashville's #1 place for comics 3 years in a row. Rick's Comic City. They do have 2 locations, one in Nashville and one in Clarksville, Tennessee. And one in Fort Campbell called Locker Nerd. If you are in the Middle Tennessee area, definitely check them out. Let them know that we sent you. It doesn't get you any discounts or anything, but just lets you know that, hey, they support us by showing our show in their stores, and we appreciate that. So we definitely want to show the love and send people there. They are, aside from the library guys, these are the only places where you'll be able to get comic books, manga, toys, memorabilia, things of that nature. Again, support your local comic book stores. If you're in the Middle Tennessee area, support Rick's Comic Book Store. And again, also support libraries as well, because these are the last places, guys, to where you'll be able to get the literature and things you love to read. And again, read banned books. we cannot stress that enough. Always read banned books. Why? Because there's something in there they don't want you to know, and it'll make you think. So, with that being said, guys, we're about to wrap this up. Joe, you want people to know what you'll be up to this week?
Sleep. I will be up to sleep. And then starting Thursday, Spider-Man. I will be up to Spider-Man because Spider-Man 2 comes out this week.
Yes. And
I remember to stream it? Probably not. No, I'll be too busy trying to immediately unlock the Scarlet Spider suit and the Tokusatsu suit. And then that'll be the story for the thing. I wonder if the Venom symbiote will alter any of the suits.
Should, if they were to try to go for an after effect.
Oh, goody. I get to have a black hoodie.
I say keyword and should. Like I said, I have to get a PS5 to join in on the fun for that myself. But what else, Joe?
I will be around town because it is October and I am a Ghostbuster. My stuff is still in the car. I've not unloaded it from this morning. I know the 21st I'll be in Lebanon for the Down Syndrome Awareness Walk. This morning I was in Murfreesboro for the Cancer Awareness Walk very early this morning. What else was there? I will be at Nashville Shores Friday night from 6:30 till around 10 because they are doing a double feature at the Nashville Shores of Ghostbusters 1 and 2.
Okay.
I will just have to remember to stop playing Spider-Man and go. I've already had 3 people put on alarm for that.
Nice.
Look, I know what I'm going to be like playing Spider-Man. I'm going to ignore the world.
Oh, trust me. I know the feeling. I know the feeling when you get into a game trance. I will not judge you. I'll probably join you, but I won't judge you.
And that's really about it. I mean, I got the Twitter, Joe10LO, or Joe Italian last name. Either one works. Twitch is still Joe Italian last name. I haven't done anything with that for a while. I did get to leave a guest mail, name dropping Gus on last week's Video Game Apocalypse. So you can hear my video voicemail from there saying, hey, I'm part of a podcast now called Get Bit. Please come watch us. Please, we're very new. Please come watch us. It was, what video games did you haunt the most after they're gone? I told him, well, naturally the 2008 Ghostbusters game, because Till Spirits Unleashed, that had the best multiplayer. Also, please come and listen to Get Bit. We're very new. Please listen to us.
God.
Yeah. So there's that. So more people know our name. Where are we? Let me see if I can do this. We're on iHeartRadio until they tell me no more. Castbox, Google Podcast, Amazon Music, and Spotify.
And eventually Apple Music. Apple Music as of this week. So we'll also be there. But cool. Oh, Lord, please. That being said, guys, we do have other shameless plugs we always want to do as well. Also, shout out to my boy Vaughn at Big BZA Dot. You can definitely find him, Big BZA, on social media. He does beats for shows, for songs, and things of that nature, and they're always up for sale. So if you are in the need for new beats, definitely check him out at Big BZA Dot on all social media. Also, guys, I do want to point out Blur Station. If you don't know what Blur Station is, it is a new place for content. Content, unlike Netflix and other places, to where they cycle through content, this will never go away. And right now, it is currently $10 a month. They do have an Affinity membership program in which that if you do join this after 36 months, you do own a piece of Blur Station, which means, guess what? Dividends. You ever want to own a part of Disney Plus? You ever want to own a Netflix, things of that nature? Well, it's the same deal, except in this case, they are about doing content as far as music, television, anime, animation, comics. As Hellspawn.cosplay will have his first show, issue number 1, coming directly and streaming directly from Blur Station. So definitely check that out at blurstation.com. As for yours truly, guys, you can find me BlackFox447 on all socials. I usually do reviews on everything that I read, that I watch and play, especially with wrestling, because I still have a bunch of wrestling to cover up. tonight, and we'll have reviews out for the world to see. Aside from that, guys, link at the bottom to make that a wee bit bigger for you guys to see. If you copy and paste that link into your browser, it'll take you to the link to that YouTube and Facebook groups for all of our podcasts. How the Fact Got Here, Get Bit, of course, the Offense Podcast. Definitely like, definitely share, definitely subscribe. Let people know. Discuss, give us your opinions on everything we talked about tonight. At the same time, like Joe said, we are pretty much going to be branching out. Anywhere that you hear podcasts, that's where you can pretty much find us. But we do thank everybody that listens, that shares, that comes up to us and says, hey, we saw you at Rick's Comic City on television. Again, we appreciate it all. Hopefully we'll be back here same next time Friday, same Get Bit time, same Get Bit channel. With that being said, we will still support the work. We will still support the actors, which means that we will not be announcing any new work that hasn't already been reported. At the same time, we are definitely not scabbers. Unlike some content creators, I will leave nameless. But with that being said, guys, again, with cosplay season being out, first and foremost, respect all cosplayers, no matter what. It is simply the golden rule. Please, hygiene is a must at cons, guys. Deodorant, shower, toothbrush, mouthwash. Come on now. And third of all, I can't take this away. Will Wheaton said it best, but I feel the need because it reverberates so well. Don't be a dick, and we'll all be cool. Joey, last words we call tonight, sir?
My back hurts from carrying a proton pack.
But you do it so well. But that being said, guys, that's going to do it for this special edition of Get Bit this Saturday. We will be back next Friday, guys. Again, take care of yourselves and each other. Happy gaming. If you have a fandom, love it, share it, bring everybody else into it, because that's what it's all about. Have a good night, guys. Peace.
Later.